Welcome to the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on ProView Network. Dave, it's been a while since we've been on the air, but I'm happy to be back. What have you been up to?
Well, been up to a lot. Unfortunately, haven't been out to Sandia much, but we're going to have an update a little later in the show. But have been out to the drag strip. The Firecracker Nationals was pretty amazing. I've been really impressed with most of the racing. Of course, it's hard for me to remember exactly when we were last on, but some great IndyCar races, really good battle in Formula One, and of course, we can talk about Eldora that happened just earlier this week on the Camping World Truck side. But you've been awfully busy. As a matter of fact, we launched on the radio side, at least the Where's Spencer? And I don't know if we were on, but talk a little bit about dirt track experience out in California and maybe some other things you've been into since we were last on.
Yeah, it's been a really busy year for me so far, and since we were off during the summer break for us, I turned 21. That was probably the biggest thing outside of racing for
Congrats,
me.
and you're still alive.
Still alive, so we're doing good on that.
Yep.
And so like you were saying, I went out to California and I did some racing out there for the California Speed Week, which it's an incredible event out there. It's 5 days of racing, 4 different racetracks, and we had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we didn't do that well, but we learned a lot, met some new friends, hung out with some old friends, and overall it's been a great experience. And also what I've been up to is hanging out with Jason Irwin, who we're going to have on the show today, and I've been spotting for him lately in the Lucas Oil Modified Series, so that's been exciting too.
Yeah, and of course, got his first victory. And of course, you weren't there for that one, so that probably bummed you out a little bit. But got to ask you, how did the roast go? I mean, for turning 21 and letting everybody just take shots at you, I mean, that shows a little bit of guts there.
Yeah, probably not the ideal party for everybody, but I had a great time. Everybody that knows me knows that I love to laugh and I love to make people laugh. So what other way to do it than to set up a Comedy Central style roast for my 21st birthday. We had everybody up there, my mom, my dad, Michaela, Jason, Matt, who's been on the show, Cody. We all got up there and we were just kind of grilling each other, and it was awesome. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and so hey, in case you're wondering, we do have a fly in the studio, so we're trying to deal with that. So if we do something weird, we're going to blame it on a fly this time. But let's talk a little bit about like some of the local events. Of course, Albuquerque Dragway, we'll put up the schedule there, and we can talk a little bit about things that are going on. But Yearwood Street to Strip, and see, now that fly just got me right in the face. So there's the schedule. Street to Strip going on July 27th. Gates open at 6 p.m. But also coming up on August the 4th is the NHRA All Access out there. And of course, the 8th, August 11th and 12th, we're going to have their first swap meet. Mark your calendars for the September the 22nd for the All-Out Call-Out number 2. And I want to give a quick shout-out to Doug Vansel in Pro Fuel Motorcycle with his third victory of the season earlier this year. So that was awfully cool. Have you been out to the drag strip lately? Have you seen some of the stuff that's going on out there?
Not at our drag strip, but I was just in Salt Lake City, Utah at a very unique raceway out there. It's called Rocky Mountain Raceways, and it's a full facility. It has a motocross track, oval track, and a drag strip all built into one. And the way they lay it out is so unique. They have pretty much like a mountain, and on one side of the grandstands it leads to the drag strip, and on the other side of the grandstands is the oval track. And one ticket gets you into seeing both races.
Wow.
So it's pretty much, I mean, Horsepower Heaven was the name of the event this past weekend.
Pretty cool.
And that's exactly what it was. They had jet cars, funny cars, modifieds, all in the same pit area. So it was a heck of a show.
That's fantastic. Talking about Sandia Speedway, getting back to racing this weekend. The board stepped up and put a new well in there, so you're going to be able to get things going, including they're going to have the flat track that's going to be running out there. It's a fan appreciation night. Gates are open Saturday at 6:30. Come on out. 360 wings. How does that fly know who's actually talking on the camera? And 360 wing sprints, X mods, and street stocks. So do you want to make a little announcement on where you're going to be this weekend and what you going to be doing?
Yeah, so originally the plan this weekend was to head over to Sholo, Arizona, Sholo Speedway Park, to run the micro sprint. But we have a little bit of a late entry for me. It looks like I'm actually going to get back behind the wheel of a sprint car this weekend with Truman West and SEH Motorsports. Truman bought another car and he asked me to drive it, and there's no way I can turn down an opportunity like that. So sprint car racing, here I come. I'm back.
Well, congratulations, and I'm glad to hear that Truman's doing so well. Because, of course, we had him on the show, and what a great guy. And what a supporter. I mean, he goes out there single-handedly, acquires cars, and puts people in the driver's seat. Going on out there, of course, on a Saturday at Sandia Speedway, it's called the Blazing Battle on the Clay Oval. Then, of course, during the week, dang it, July 28th, 29th, see, I didn't curse, though, is the Charlie Fagan Performance Driving. And then at Sandia Motocross, if you want to know what's going on with motocross, August 18th and the 19th is round 5 of the Moriarty Motocross 2000 series, which is the David Fisher Memorial. But we're going to kill that fly here in a second. So if you see us murder something on the screen, don't report us or anything. But that's what's going on the local tracks. As far as car shows, there's really a lot going on. We're knee deep in the car show season till basically Labor Day is kind of the big one. But going on the 27th through the 29th is the 4th annual Freedom Ride Flight and Cruise Weekend in Gallup. And of course, in conjunction with that is the 12th annual Gurley Motors Route 66 Car Show, Truck and Motorcycle Show. On the 28th, Stop the Violence Car Show at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. That's from 11 to 3, live music, alcohol and drug-free family event. On Sunday the 29th is this is silly, St. Anne Catholic Church Fiesta Car Show. So this is what live TV is like, you know. So you can't really do anything about it except have fun. So I can't wait to see the memes, like this. But the St. Anne Catholic Church Fiesta Car Show is also going on, open to all, 11 a.m. They're going to have raffles and drawings and all kinds of stuff. But I want to let you know also to go ahead and mark your calendars for August 4th through the 5th is a Route 66 car show and calendar show. You can get your forms at Yearwood Performance. And of course, Yearwood has always been a big supporter of everything motorsports. So just a shout out and a congratulations to the team over there. 50 years Yearwood has been open, and huge. 10 for Jim. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the show that you missed, but last weekend we had the Matchbox show, and there was a bunch of collectors and had an opportunity actually to talk to one of the Matchbox designers. And one thing I didn't know, because I asked him the wrong question, was that Matchbox was really into getting their diecast correct. I mean, they spent a lot of time to make it look a lot. Whereas, of course, Hot Wheels did a lot of, funky, custom stuff. But I got to ask you, I mean, how many hot, Matchbox and Hot Wheels and diecast cars did you think you got up to?
And I'm still collecting the NASCAR diecast. I think overall with the NASCAR diecast, last time I checked, it was somewhere around 2,000.
Wow.
So, and it's still growing. It's probably up around 3 now.
So do you just play with them on the carpet?
Actually, I've grown out of that a little bit, but not all the way. I have 2 full-scale diecast tracks that I designed. Me and my buddies did it a couple summers ago, too. I have a Phoenix and a Martinsville now. Wow. So I set up those dioramas sometimes, and I don't know, it's kind of just a nice little thing to look at and give me something to do when I'm totally bored.
That's pretty cool. So going on the national scene, Camping World Truck, of course, July 28th, the Gander Outdoor 150 Pocono Raceway. Xfinity is going to be running over at Iowa. Also on Saturday, U.S. Cellular 250. Monster Energy Cup Series, Sunday the 29th, the Gander Outdoor 400 at Pocono. And I tell you, a lot of chatter over the last couple of races. Of course, we weren't on the air at the end of the race in which Kyle Busch moved somebody out of the way, and then he gets moved out of the way this weekend by Kevin Harvick. I mean, what are your thoughts on the two sides of Kyle Busch and how he handled He seemed upset about this one and like, well, I race people like they raced me. Well, didn't he just race you? You know, the way you raced Kyle Larson. I mean, so what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I personally like it. I think overall, when you see Kyle Busch, you see someone that has a lot of emotion with the sport, and that's important to have. Whether it's good or bad, you can definitely tell that he cares about what he's doing,
right.
And that means a lot to me as a driver because that's how I am too. Maybe not as intense as Kyle Busch can be, but definitely to some extent. So to see him going out there and obviously giving those raw interviews that he does, whether it's in victory lane or pissed off in the press box afterwards,
right.
It's good to see that, and I think it's good for the sport to have a personality that's actually raw.
Well, I actually agree. I like to see it. What I don't like is the inconsistency. You know, it's like I would have loved it if he would have just come out and said, hey, I can't wait to get a chance because I'm going to do the same thing. It's a completely different way of putting it than like trying to say that he didn't have contact with Larson or that one was okay but the other one's not. So you got to do what you got to do. And rain was coming. 7 laps. Had a chance to do that. Of course, Eldora being on Wednesday. What a great event. What a great promoter that Tony Stewart is. He gets on there and he's like trying to rile up the fans, to come out and let's get Cup out here, let's get Xfinity out here. Not quite that simple. It would be. Could you imagine trying to do it, 2 races in one night on that surface? And just think about the difference of weight, between a Cup car and a sprint car, right? It's not one or the other. So
difficult.
Yeah. What would be your thoughts of seeing Cup or Xfinity on a dirt track? Maybe not Eldora. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger track.
Well, I don't really think that it's necessary to bring Cup or Xfinity to a dirt track. What I do think, though, is they need to fix the truck race at Eldora.
Right.
They need to take the windshields out of there, make it a true dirt track for them to race on, and give the fans a real good show. Because what we've been getting is good, but I think it could be great.
So what about the Prelude to a Dream a couple of years ago?
Perfect example.
See, that I think that's what they should do. So anyway, we got a whole lot more coming up, including you're going to catch up with Jason Irwin and find out about his victory and how things have been going in the Lucas Oil Modified Series. You've been watching the New Mexico Motorsports Report on the ProView Network, Comcast 26.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts. Like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that could happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Duke City Sports Bar, proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. Catch all the sports action from high school, college, pros, and MMA on one of our 35 HD TVs. Start your night off right with any selection from our delicious menu prepared with fresh, never frozen ingredients. Duke City Sports Bar, Albuquerque's newest sports bar. Located on Eubank and Montgomery, dial 505-433-4020.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Locally loved restaurants like Farina Pizzeria, Farina Alto, and the Artichoke Cafe are the perfect venue for your next event. Farina Alto has traditional Italian food plus handcrafted cocktails in a beautiful Northeast Heights location. Farina Pizzeria with a downtown vibe, amazing affordable wines, and local beer. And the Artichoke Cafe has set the standard for casual fine dining since 1989. Visit our family of restaurants and see what fine dining is all about.
The New Mexico Motorsports Report on the ProView Network, and I'm happy to be joined here with my guest this evening, Jason Irwin, driver of the number 9 Milwaukee Modified for the Lucas Oil Modified Series. Jason, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a couple months, so
I know it's been a little bit for us too on the show, so I'm happy to have a little bit of a reunion today. Here's that dang fly again. So Jason, you're fresh off a huge win in Bakersfield. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that win was huge. You know, we've been at it for a while, and first I got in the series, I was renting a car, and last year I started doing my own stuff. So there's a bit of a learning curve going to all these tracks. Some of them for the first time, some of them going back, but going with my new setup and just trying some stuff. And the only way to learn stuff is to run 7,500 lap races. So going back this year with the notebook, we felt strong about 3 tracks, and one of them was in Bakersfield. And we knew we had to capitalize on that one, and that's just what we did.
So with a track like Bakersfield, which is pretty large for a local or a touring division such as the Lucas Oil Modifieds, but maybe a little bit too small for like a truck series race, how do you explain that type of racing to fans? Do you think that's good racing with a track that's that large?
I don't think from a fan standpoint it's great racing. Just I think the track, like you said, it's too small for NASCAR to come there, but it's almost too big for the series that we're running. The racing just gets very spread out, and it's almost like super speedway racing does. Track's very fast, very high bank. Generally, you see a lot of long green flag runs. The track's so fast that people don't really want to bump into each other, touch each other. So the racing kind of gets spread out, and you know, from a fan standpoint, you don't see a lot of wrecks or cautions.
How big is aero at a track like that?
Aero is pretty big. I never really felt aero tight until I got tucked up behind a couple people trying to pass. And when I got behind them, my car just got so tight right behind them in their wake that I had to kind of move my lane around to get on the outside of them, and then I was able to drive past a couple people to get to the lead. So it does play a factor, you know, and we have our body kind of skewed out and our spoiler up in there and our nose sealed to the ground. Everything we can kind of do is to create as much downforce as possible in our own car before we get tucked up behind somebody.
Now, do you have to change anything in the car to go to those big tracks? What are some of the changes that you make going in knowing that you're going to a track that's probably aero sensitive and obviously more of a motor track?
With the body, we don't change anything. It's the same configuration that we run all year. You know, all of our heights got to be the same. We got to pass all of our side skirt heights and our splitter heights. The biggest thing we change, we go to a way different rear end gear because we can't turn that amount of RPM as we would at a short track. So we got to back that up. We got a lot longer straightaway, so we have to really lower our rear end gear to be able to run the RPM. Other than that, we don't really change a whole lot. We might try and brace the body up to make it a little stiffer just so it holds air better, but other than that, that's about it.
Gotcha. And I'm sure everybody's been asking you, what's the secret to being so fast there, man? I mean, last year you were pretty quick, but this year obliterated the field by like 11 seconds.
Yeah, you know, we ran really well there last year, and it was our first time going there, my first time ever, our first time with our own car. And I knew that we were really good, but I knew we could be better if I could keep better grip in the car over the long run. So we went kind of same baseline, made a couple small changes that were going to help the car over the long run, and it really took off. I mean, on around lap 30, 35, the thing just started digging, and I was able to drive to the front.
And you did a great job at that. So cool to see you pick up your first win. So, Jason, a lot of people that watch the show know that we go to school together. With school just around the corner, and you guys kind of in your mid-season area with the Lucas Oil Modified Series, what grade would you give yourself and your team for your performance thus far this season?
I'd probably give us a B. You know, I really thought we were going to run better this year. We just got back from Salt Lake, which we've had a lot of success there in the past and didn't run quite as well as I thought we should have. You know, Vegas, we didn't really capitalize on that. I got in a wreck early and to come up from the rear. Just some of the tracks that we should have ran better at, I don't feel like we've capitalized on those, except for Kern County. We ran really well there, which was kind of an exception. But we're kind of through our big track stretch, which has been our best part of the season. So when we go back to the smaller tracks, we're going to kind of throw some new stuff at the car and see if we can pick up that speed we've been missing.
Absolutely, and plenty of time left in the season. What does the points look like right now? Do you feel like you're in a pretty good spot to make a good run, at least a podium finish in the points?
Potentially. You know, for the championship, we're a little far out. Taylor Minch has had a phenomenal season. He started the season off with 4 straight wins, which is almost unheard of in that
unbelievable.
series. So to get a championship run of it, I don't really see it. And if we're not in the championship run, I'm going to go run the Legend Nationals at Vegas, which is the same weekend as the Havasu closer for the Lucas Oil Modified Series. So if we're not championship contention run, we're probably not going to get a podium run because we're going to miss the last race anyway.
Got you. So it's kind of one of those all or nothing type deals. But that's exciting because you've won that championship before in the Legend car. Do you feel like that's something that kind of helps you when you go to a track like that and you have that in your back pocket? Just everybody kind of looks at you as, you know, someone that you're definitely going to have to fight for the win?
You know, it does a little bit here and there, I would say. The biggest thing is that I raced Vegas a lot in Legend cars coming up, and still being able to have that track knowledge on what the track's going to do, going through day to night transitions and stuff is pretty important. So I kind of figure it might give us a little bit of an advantage, but going in for a points run, you never know what's going to happen. It's always a title run going in, so we'll just go with our best piece and see what happens.
And we have some pictures up here on the show, just kind of explaining a little bit about what the Lucas Oil Modified Series is and what it means to you. With a series like that gets national TV coverage, how cool is that to bring back to a little town like Albuquerque, New Mexico?
It's pretty cool for me. You know, we used to have Dustin Tilbury, who also raced out in New Mexico, but now we're the only New Mexico car in the tour. And we're actually the furthest out, so we have to drive to the furthest all the racetracks pretty much. So, you know, it's kind of makes things a little bit tougher, and we're a little bit of an outcast on the series. So it is kind of cool to bring that back to New Mexico, that we do have a car that competes in a high level like that.
Absolutely. And one thing that we got to see this last week that was a total treat, and it happens to be our background image for this week, was Eldora Speedway with the asphalt trucks racing on dirt. Now, I know you don't have a lot of dirt experience, but you have ran a couple races in it. What is it like trying to transfer a car like an Asphalt Legend, for example, and making it into something that is competitive with a dirt track feel?
It's just tough. I feel like, you know, the Legend car and the trucks are probably the same. They're meant to run on asphalt. They're not meant for dirt. So when you try and do that, you don't really have like all the things you need to get a dirt car correctly. The trucks in specific, I think they're way too heavy for that. And they just have no turn in them, and they can't get hiked up, and they can't really drive like a dirt car should. And the track just gets so slicked off that most of the time you're either putting right around the bottom or just trying to keep it straight on the top and not knock the right side off of it.
So do you think there's a fix to that? Do you think there's a right way to make asphalt trucks work on dirt and put on a really good show?
Potentially. If they could lighten them up, I think that would help a lot. You know, I don't know how much ballast they're running on them, but if they could take 200 pounds out of the trucks, I think it might help that, not making them so heavy and chew up the track so quickly. Other than that, you know, if they could make the track more moist and, you know, like you were saying earlier, take the windshields out, put a screen in, and make the drivers have tear-offs and make it a dirt race.
I think that would be the true fix, personally at least, because from any of my experience, if it has a windshield, it's probably not supposed to be on dirt. I mean, that just has my common sense to it. Well, Jason, now Cup Series, we have New Hampshire that was just ran, and we had a little bit of controversy with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. What were your thoughts on that kind of back to short track racing with a bump and run?
You know, I liked it. I thought the race was really exciting. You know, there were a couple lead changes, and there was a couple cars at different points that looked dominant. But in the end, I mean, Kevin Harvick, he didn't lead very many laps and was able to get it done. But when he gave the bump to Kyle, he bumped him 3 or 4 times before he really knocked him out of the way. So he was there, and Kyle was just kind of holding him up. And with 6 to go, like, you can't really blame him. You know, he's racing for wins for himself and for his team. So. And
I think we've both been on both ends of that stick too, with giving it to somebody and obviously receiving it as well. Like just the bump and run mentality with short track racing, it's been there forever. And I think we even saw that this past weekend in Salt Lake City with our last race. Unfortunately, you were on the wrong end of it on this one, but it's just one of those deals. How do you is that kind of like a driver's code in your opinion? Do you go in there and you know, like, if you bump this guy, you don't have to apologize because you'll just expect them to race you that way?
A little bit to me. You know, it kind of depends on the track we're at. You know, and last week in Salt Lake, you know, we were leading the race and Tellstrom got into us, but he was way faster. Mm-hmm. And at that point in the race, I was holding him up, and then he was getting pressure from behind. So, you know, for him to play nice and just try and pass us on the bottom without laying a bumper, I mean, it'd be tough. And then he could lose the spot, you know, to third and even fall back. So at that point, he had the faster car, and he's got to go, and I realized that. And if I was in his position, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing, Jason, I'm going to ask you, are you cool with sticking around with us a little bit longer and dealing with this fly that we got flying around?
Yeah, hasn't bothered me, so I'll hang out.
I guess it only follows the ugly people. Well, Jason, we're going to talk a little bit about tech procedures here coming up in the next segment, and maybe a little bit about how teams bend the rules, both in NASCAR and maybe some of the local stuff. So we'll have that for you guys right after this commercial break. You've been watching the New Mexico Motorsports Report on ProView Network.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, #life change will occur.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Los Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203. Hey, New Mexico, come check out the newly remodeled guest rooms at the new Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center, featuring 309 rooms, 30,000 square feet of meeting space. New Mexico's only indoor water park featuring the Wave Runner. 2,200 square foot fitness center with hydro massage chairs. Also enjoy breakfast at our new Manzanita Grill and watch your favorite team play at Altitude Sports Bar and Grill. It's all at Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center. Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with ProView Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of ProView Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean.
All right, welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report. And I'm glad to jump in on this conversation because I got a lot of questions. But first off, I want to congratulate you. I know how hard you worked, and how hard your dad worked. And I do got to ask, though.
And the spotter.
Yeah, and the spotter. I do got to ask you, what's the deal with him wearing flip-flops?
I don't know. He gets so much crap about it from everybody.
Dude loves his sandals.
He likes his sandals. I don't know. That's
Well,
his racetrack shoes now.
Hey, at least he didn't have socks on,
Yeah,
with sandals. But
No, he got a lot of crap about that, but
yeah,
that's how he rolls. He
well,
don't care.
hey, we gave him some more, so we'll just keep it going. But yeah, one thing that I thought was really an interesting story last week had Jerry Jordan actually break the story on the paint schemes that were being changed, and I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about tech. We've all experienced tech. I've had a little experience of being on the other side of tech, trying to catch different things that were going on, and of course dealing with drivers coming up with the fact that they've got to be cheating, and it's like, maybe they're just faster than you, so maybe that's not the problem. Maybe she could actually work on your car. But I was going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to go through tech with the Lucas Oil Series.
The tech with them, a lot of it's about the body, really, is what they really care about. So we go through tech, and they take all their body measurements, and then they check the width of our car, and then they check our fuel cell height in the back. Those are their big things, and then they scale us. And they scale us 4 times throughout the weekend. They scale us before practice on Friday, before practice Saturday, before qualifying, before the race. So just to make sure the weights are always in spec. We have a left side weight rule, so we can't exceed that either. So those are the things that they really check. And then after the race, they might check shocks, or they might check the cubic inch of the engine. It kind of just depends on what they want to do. They check rear end gears. So
yeah, or a really hot rear end gear, huh?
Yeah. That's what they checked in Bakersfield. So we got to pull rear ends out after 75 lap main.
Wow. And so being a smaller team, in NASCAR, you've got all of these team members that can help with that. How much extra work is it for you to have to kind of pull it apart or put it back together? And is it a ton of work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of work. It probably took us overall probably about 30 to 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, we pulled the gear out pretty quick. Me and my dad, we just busted it out and got on the ground. They came over and checked it, and everything was good, and we stuck it back in there and loaded up. So that was about it.
That's fantastic. You got any other questions there for him on that, or?
Well, on the tech procedure stuff, it's just kind of crazy because I know in my racing I see it quite often. You've been on both sides of it.
Right.
And Jason, I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff between the modifieds and the legend cars. What's maybe the most out in left field thing that you've seen somebody try to get away with?
More so in the legend car stuff. The modified, it's more of like an open rule book, I would say, so you don't really see a whole lot of cheating because everything's already pretty open. So with the legend stuff, everything's supposed to be spec. The biggest thing to cheat on those cars is the motors. We've seen some pretty big motors come through. Actually, I was crew chief in a car for Brian Grant at the road course this past year, and we said, no way, that car's not legal. So many people complained to tech director. He finally checked it, made him pull the engine out. They tore it out of the shop. It was so illegal. Had over 150 cc more, dome pistons, advanced timing.
Oh my God.
Just a hoss in there. So
when you think of spec racing, it's not like literally a sealed motor, or is it supposed to be a sealed motor?
It is a sealed motor, and that motor somehow had seals on it. So,
whoa, wow!
Whoever was able to seal that one up, I don't know where they got the seals from.
So does something like that kind of stick with you? Now everybody knows that you guys cheated, and somehow you got the seals back on there. That's got to be like.
I would say, if you come through and you're a little low on ride height, or a little long on your wheelbase, or off on your axle offset, I'd say those things kind of get brushed off the shoulder. But when you get busted for a big motor, it's kind of a black eye. So.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, and if you think that's technologically advanced with the seals getting put back on, wait till you hear this about the NASCAR, what they're doing over there in the Cup Series garage. What a lot of people don't know is now it's not, that big old claw that comes down on the cars. That's out of here. It's 2018, and we're using lasers, and it's incredible what they're doing with the new ISS system. Basically, what cars do is they get put into a black room like this one here, and thousands of little pinpoint lasers are put all around the car, and there's cameras all around this tent that are set up at every racetrack that they go to. And the cameras are able to measure the distance in between each of these dots, which ultimately creates a 3D rendering of the car so that NASCAR officials can zoom in and see exactly what the teams have done to manipulate it. Now, teams, though, they're getting pretty creative, aren't they, David?
Absolutely. And what I thought was interesting with Jerry Jordan, when he brought it all and he broke it, and Cole Pern basically said that, yeah, they were doing it and they were aware of it, was they were running basically because of the speed of trying to get all the cars through, that they were running a high-res scan and a low-res scan. And they figured that on the brighter color cars that they could run a low-res scan and they could catch everything. Same number of points of light. They also disputed whether it was actually a laser, right? But the definition of what a laser is in creating those points of contact. Of course, Cole Pern was the first to say, hey, we've always had to go through a high-res scan because our car is black. But I think you have some pictures of where some of the teams were getting pretty creative to put like little pieces of black. Now, you were telling me that you were watching the race and you saw some of that and was wondering why that was on Ricky Stenhouse's car.
Yeah, and I think I actually mentioned this to Jason. I think we were watching the race together, and I noticed that here's a picture of Ricky Stenhouse's car in the top right.
Yeah.
I had noticed that that little piece of black there on the rear quarter panel has never been there before this last race. And I kind of mentioned it to Jason, just thinking it was something weird that the team was trying to impress their sponsors or maybe the fans. And I was like, man, that's weird. I've never seen black on that car and that paint scheme. And come to find out, I've never seen black on the, on the 43. Wait, the 37 has black too.
Right.
So obviously these teams were doing something, and turns out what they were doing was trying to literally cheat the camera and laser system.
Right.
And it's so incredible because what they were basically doing was tricking the lasers and the cameras into thinking that that black piece was blank space.
Right.
And what the cameras and the lasers were meant to do in the 3D rendering is just connect the last 2 points that were measured. And so whenever it goes to darkness, they just have to kind of fill in the blank. And so what they were thinking was within the parameters of the rule book actually happened to be, maybe an inch or two longer or higher than what they were actually supposed to do. And Jason, what exactly is like the advantage of something like that? I think you would be able to explain it.
On the right rear quarter panel, it's a very sensitive area on those cars, especially when they're skewed out. All the air is put on the right rear of the car, so that's where all the focus is at. So if the teams can skew that out and get more air on the right side of the car is going to have more grip. And at a track like Kentucky, perfect place to debut it. 1.5 miles, you need a lot of grip. You have a lot of corner speed. So the more grip you can build into your car, the faster you're going to go. And it's not really going to give you aero drag to slow you down at a track like that.
It's just incredible what people are doing, isn't it?
That's phenomenal. And then, of course, being a former general manager of a track, I thought it was great how NASCAR came out and said, it's not happening. Nobody's getting away with anything. Yeah. Because you guys have always been smarter than us trying to run the track. Quite honestly, because we try and catch this or that, and then something else basically comes up. So I want to ask you the same question. What is the craziest thing that you've seen in sprint car racing?
Well, sprint car racing and the micro sprint stuff, really everything on dirt's always been more outlaw.
Right.
Because with us, a lot of the speed comes from the driver determining the right line to run on the track. So we don't see anything too crazy. Obviously, you're always going to get the big motors. I think that's a given in any series. And they're always coming up with new ways to, make things lighter and move weight around and manipulate things exactly how they want it. But I would say more of the crazier things that I've seen, and not necessarily illegal, but kind of more on the cool side of it in the outlaw class in the micro sprint, is there's this guy I think he's in Amarillo. And he actually created his own top and nose wing for the car out of carbon fiber. And it was so weird looking. It basically, there was no sideboards plastered onto it. It was just one piece that kind of looked like just a weird little shape that kind of was like two L's put together.
Right.
And it flowed into one. And I thought that was so cool because I've never seen anything quite like that. And he had this really elongated wing. A lot of work with the aero, I guess, I would say, is more of the stuff that I've seen in the micro sprint and the sprint cars.
Well, I tell you, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? And then you get the difference between, what is really cheating. and what's within the rules. And I think quite often that's what happens off the camera got Dana doing some dancing, so he's trying to distract us, and it's working quite well.
Between that and the fly, we got one train wreck of an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wanted to ask you maybe to talk about the difference between running modified, Lucas Oil Series, and running a legend car. To me, that seems it's a lot of different drive style. The weight of the car is different. Just how significantly different is it?
The cars are so different. The horsepower is hugely different. On the modified, we run on an 8-inch tire with 600 horsepower. It's not quite enough tire, so
wow,
it's kind of an equalizer. So you kind of got to preserve your car for the longer race. 75 or 100 laps. The legend car, you can go all out from the drop of the green. Generally 25, maybe 30 lap races. And you're not going to wear the tires out. We can run the tires for 3-4 races and they'll still be okay. The modified, we run one set of tires and they're done. So you kind of got to preserve them through the night to be able to have good long run speed in the car. Driving style, legend car, it's no power steering. Modified it is. It's a lot bigger car, a lot more brake, and the legend car is seems like a lot more corner speed, a lot more kind of on the edge racing.
So have you ever driven an ARCA car?
I have not, no.
So have you ever you've driven a modified, right?
Yeah.
So you've driven the two. How similar are those two?
Everything's a little bit different. It's hard to even go from a micro sprint to a sprint car because even though they look the exact same, they're so different. One's chain driven, the other has drivetrain, and then you're going from a dirt sprint car over to an asphalt modified where everything about racing is different. I'm so used to turning the car with the throttle, and if you try doing that on asphalt, you're going to wind up in the fence. So, it's so hard to take knowledge from one area to another. More than anything, I think it's just good with eye and hand coordination and getting seat time overall.
Yeah. How about the difference between a legend on an oval and a legend on a road course?
Those are fairly similar. You're with the same car, we're on the same tire, so it's a spec series, so we still got to run all the same equipment. So nothing really changes except our measurements on our A-arms and to get different camber and caster out of the car. Really, the road course racing, it just seems like a little bit like a flat track legend car oval race. Some of the time we're turning left and other times we're turning right, but biggest thing that's really different is we shift a lot more on the road course stuff. I think in Vegas we shift 19 times a lap. Where on the oval track stuff, once we get in fourth gear, we stay in fourth gear for the run.
Wow. So do you like the different setup changes you can do between the two?
I do. The road course stuff, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot more adjustments to get dialed in because you're trying to dial in
like a
13, 14 corners.
Yeah.
And they're all left and right, so it's kind of switchback stuff. So the oval stuff, you can really fine tune it. You got 2 corners to work with, so you can make a lot more adjustments to try and go the right direction on the oval stuff.
So much like dirt, do you feel like road course puts it more in the driver's hands?
Yeah, I would say a little bit. There's only so much you can do with the road course car, and once you get a good grip in it and good turn in it, that's about all you can do, and it's really hard to fine-tune one section of the racetrack, and it almost leaves it up to the driver to fine-tune that section himself.
Cool. Well, we're going to ask you to stay over and talk a little NASCAR. We're going to talk some Camping World Truck. Might even talk a little open wheel. You've been watching the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the ProView Network, Comcast 26.
Hey, New Mexico, come check out the newly remodeled guest rooms at the new Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center, featuring 309 rooms, 30,000 square feet of meeting space. New Mexico's only indoor water park featuring the Wave Runner. 2,200 square foot fitness center with hydro massage chairs. Also enjoy breakfast at our new Manzanita Grill and watch your favorite team play at Altitude Sports Bar and Grill. It's all at Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with ProView Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Nothing completes a trip downtown like a visit to Lindy's Cafe. You won't find a more relaxing restaurant to unwind at. Located on 5th and Central, proud supporters of ProView Networks, Lindy's strives to be a friendly and welcoming place.
Lindy's, a great place to be seen.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
The New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the ProView Network, Comcast 26. I want to remind you, of course, that we have a radio version. It's on ESPN Radio 101.7 FM every Saturday morning from 8 to 9. We try and catch up with where Spencer is and other things that are going on. Of course, RJ keeps us up to date on the calendar. But also want to remind you, you can go to the nmmotorsportsreport.com. You can check out the shows. We've got them all there, as well as our latest magazine, which we got another one that's coming out in about 2 weeks. So there's going to be a lot of neat things in there, including John Haverland actually went out and covered the Formula E race for us. And it was really neat to be a small outlet from New Mexico, and 2 million people here, and there's more than 2 million people in just New York and Brooklyn where the race was. But it was neat to have that access. Of course, John had also got us some road racing with some IMSA racing this year. We actually are now FIA accredited, which means that maybe they won't yank my Formula One video off the air like they did last year. But just to talk a little bit about Formula One, Lewis Hamilton got the victory in Germany last week. Retakes the point lead. Of course, it was a dominant performance by Vettel up until then. Of course, a little bit of rain came out. We all know what that's like, losing traction and then right into the wall. So that's the way luck goes, because the week before at the British Grand Prix, the shoe was on the other foot. Hamilton, basically wrecks out. Vettel gets the victory. IndyCar is going to come back. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Club is going to be going on this weekend. Scott Dixon is still your point leader. It's very, very tight there. We're going to love seeing that. Just shout out in NHRA. Steve Torrance is your points leader in Top Fuel. Courtney Force, leader in Funny Car, and Greg Anderson is leading in Pro Stock. So I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Camping World Truck Series. A lot of great races. Chase Briscoe. I mean, what a tremendous end to that race. I mean, you guys talk a little bit about, as drivers, your experience in watching that.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch Eldora Speedway and the Eldora Dirt Derby, the 6th running of it this year, and it did not disappoint. It's just a fun race, man. I mean, how can you not love seeing something out of its element? It's just an aspect of that that's so cool. I know I enjoyed every minute of it. Jason, what did you think about that awesome race?
I thought the race was awesome. It was action-packed the whole way, and there were a couple different leaders who looked like they could take off at some point, and Ben Rhodes was leading early and kind of beat the fence down, and then had too much damage to really compete for a win at the end of it. Chase Briscoe, he made a later pit stop and had to drive back up through to get there. I don't know if he'd make it quite back to the front, but he did, and I was kind of surprised to see he took the bottom on that last restart and then had to use in finger up coming to the line to get it. But yeah, overall, it was a great race.
So cool. And let's take a quick look again at the race results for the Eldora Speedway. Eldora Dirt Derby, again, the 6th running of it. Chase Briscoe with the win, Grant Enfinger second. Stuart Friesen finishing third. Fourth was Matt Crafton in the Menards Ford. Brett Moffitt in that number 16. Of course, sponsorship uncertain for that race team. He was able to bring home a 5th place finish. Noah Gregson, really not used to dirt at all, uncomfortable probably. He comes home with a 6th place finish. John Hunter Nemechek coming from the LCQ up to the 7th place. Logan Seavey in his first career Camping World Truck Series start, he finishes 8th after leading quite a bit. Justin Haley 9th, and rounding out the top 10 was Nick Hoffman.
Yeah, it was quite a run, and you mentioned Noah Gregson. I mean, you know Noah a little bit. Talk a little bit about kind of the character he is and the interest that he brings to the track.
He's just a goofball, you know. He really is.
Yeah.
He brings a lot of attention, which is good for the sport. It's good to have a character like that that's just kind of a little different and doesn't really care what other people think, and he's there to make people laugh. So he has fun with it, he's loose with it, and he gets a lot of attention out of it. So to have somebody like that, you know, that it's good for the sport. It just brings other people interested, and, you know, they might watch more races just because of it.
You didn't send into the sombrero, did you?
Wasn't me.
Because I was thinking, is that a red or green question there? So you want to talk a little bit about where the points are for the Camping World Truck?
Yeah, so the points chase, again, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty part of it. Johnny Sauter still up front in the lead with 554 points with 4 wins on the season. Brett Moffitt in that number 16 truck. Again, I cannot explain this enough. Sponsorship going week to week on that machine. 3 wins this year, though, so incredible what that Hattori Racing team's doing. Noah Gregson and Ben Rhodes with a win apiece. Justin Haley, of course, gathering another win. He runs in the 5th position. Grant Enfinger, Stuart Friesen, and Matt Crafton, who sits 117 points back from Johnny Sauter, are your last 3 trucks that are currently in the playoffs if they were to end right now. Myatt Snyder, Cody Coughlin, the 2 on the outside looking in.
Well, and of course, now you're going to, what a contrast. You're going to go from the dirt at Eldora out to the tricky triangle with this weekend. But let's talk some Xfinity. I mean, 2 weeks in a row, or 2 races in a row now, victories for Christopher Bell. Looking very strong. What are your thoughts on how Bell's doing in the Xfinity season?
Bell's doing amazing. You know, when you're able to get a win against Brad Keselowski at New Hampshire,
Right.
you're doing something right.
Right.
And with 2 wins in a row, he's kind of got momentum. And, you know, the week before he beat Kyle Busch at Kentucky, which is almost unheard of in the Xfinity Series. So for him to be able to do that 2 weekends in a row, he's probably got some huge momentum. And I'd look for great things out of that team later in the year.
What do you think of Xfinity this season, man? The racing's just been phenomenal. I mean, you got a breakdown of last week's race, but I mean, it's been tremendous.
Yeah, honestly, the Xfinity Series has really stepped their game up. Personally, from a driver standpoint, I hate the fact that they're limiting Cup drivers from running it, but from a fan standpoint, it's good racing. And I mean, it's been really good racing this year. So it's hard for me to complain too much about them limiting Cup guys when they're producing races such as the ones that we're seeing recently. And obviously with Christopher Bell, he proved that Xfinity regulars, they can beat the Cup guys. And I really think that that's a note that NASCAR should take too moving on here in the future.
I wonder if there's a little bit of balance there that's allowed that level of competition to have the regulars, you know, doing better, you know, against the Cup regulars. And so I think that you also look at probably where the Camaro is. The Camaro's doing so much better in Xfinity, and sometimes, of course, you know, the fans are like, well, why aren't they doing very well in Cup? Even though they did much better, even though we'll get to that. But talk about where we are overall on the points then.
Yeah, so in the point standings for Xfinity after 18 of 33 races, Christopher Bell with 3 wins now on the season, he's your points leader. Justin Allgaier second with 602 points. Tyler Reddick is your last Xfinity regular with a win right now. Elliott Sadler, he sits 4th. He and Daniel Hemrick pretty tight there for the actual tight points championship. Cole Custer, Brandon Jones, Ryan Truex, Matt Tifton, Austin Cindric round out your top 10. And now let's take a quick look at the cutoff line. We have Ryan Reed in that number 16 Ford for Roush. He has the 11th position locked down right now, 226 points back from the lead. Ross Chastain right there on his toes, though, just 277 points back. That's the cutoff line right there. Michael Annett, Ryan Sieg, and Jeremy Clements are 3 drivers that are really needing to make something big happen as we move into the road course season.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned Jeremy Clements. I mean, he got his victory last year on the road course, so we'll see if that's what it takes. But let's get to talking some Cup. And, of course, it's been really exciting the last couple of weeks. I like the contact. And, of course, the big 3. And the big 3, we're battling it out this weekend as well. And so, we talk a little bit about, Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick coming away with the victory over Kyle Busch. But, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of great racing. And I gotta wonder, I mean, is it good to have, 3 really dominant cars battling it out, or is it better to see 13 different winners? What's your thoughts, Jason?
I mean, I think this year's been good for the sport. You see these 3 teams really stepping up, and they found more speed than everybody else. And the Stewart-Haas cars, particularly this year, have all been really, really fast. And you see huge gains in Eric Almirola and Kurt Busch. So even Clint Bowyer, he's got a couple wins. So that team's been really rolling, and Kevin with 6 wins already. He's having a fantastic season. Kyle Busch, he's always been the dominant car at Joe Gibbs, I feel like, for the past several years. So to see him shine again, I'm not really too surprised. And then Martin Truex, another fantastic year for him. 4 wins. I think they're just getting started. They seem to finally have caught their stride. I bet the other guys are kind of going to get worried about that 78 in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So what do you think of Amarillo's, Amarola's, I got it wrong. What do you think of Amarillo? But anyway, I mean, to see the number 10 having this level of success, I'm not sure I thought he was going to come this far this quickly. Well, what's your thoughts on their second place finish?
Well, I think Eric Almirola is a really underrated NASCAR driver. He had a lot of success in the Xfinity program that he was doing with Junior Motorsports back in the day. And people kind of forgot about that since he went over and did the Richard Petty Motorsports stuff. I think it's kind of weird for him because last year he was struggling to finish races on the lead lap, and now, I mean, he's disappointed with a third-place finish. Talk about a total 180 for a team like that, too, with Danica Patrick last year, all the struggles that she's had, and now they're back in contention. They're a winning team. To me, they had that race pretty much wrapped up on Sunday, and unfortunately some pit miscues were the ones that ended up not making that happen for him. But he's a really good driver, and I think he's doing a great job with a tough opportunity.
Let's talk about where we are in the points.
Yeah, so the points look like this after 20 of 36 races. Kevin Harvick, your points leader, with 6 wins on the season. Kyle Busch, Mark Truex Jr., your big 3 right there, our top 3 in points right now. Clint Bowyer, he has 2 wins on the season. 1 win apiece for Joey Logano, Eric Jones, and Austin Dillon. Kurt Busch, 8th place. He is 198 points back. Brad Keselowski, he sits 9th at 209 points back, and Kyle Larson rounding out the top 10. Now looking over at the cutoff line, it looks like this. Ryan Blaney for Penske in that number 12, doing a good job first year over there with them. He sits 11th. 12th is Denny Hamlin, Eric Almirola, and then you see Hendrick Motorsports filling out the rest of the top 16 as your cutoff line is right there. Ricky Stenhouse, he has the first opportunity to jump into it if somebody makes a mistake here in the next couple of weeks, but it's going to be very hard to get a win with the big 3 being so competitive right now.
Yeah, what's amazing is when you look at it, it's adjusted for a win and you're in. But the big 3 are also the big 3 if you look at just straight points. What's amazing is Kurt Busch is sitting 5th overall in total in points without a victory. Now that's 3 cars from from their stable that is really got a shot. I mean, it would be amazing because Clint Bowyer's got his victory, so he's already in. It's going to be tremendous to see how that season goes out for them. Of course, Busch is in a contract year, so he's trying to get a ride. But we invite you to participate in the show when we're not on the air, going nmmotorsportsreport.com. You can, of course, send us an email at nmmotorsportsreport@gmail.com if you have any questions or any guests, or you want to tell us what things that are going on, because we're pretty connected, pretty involved in what's going on, but we don't know everything. So please send us the information so that we can bring it to you on this show. But thank you very much, Spencer, and of course, thank you, Jason, for coming on. And we want to have you tune in every week as we come to you from the ProView Network, Comcast 26.